So I started a YouTube channel and I'm not sure what I want it to be about, but I have skating videos on there right now and that's been really fun. But something I've really been wanting to do is talk about my healing and health journey. Um, I sort of kind of talk about it on TikTok and my Instagram, but those platforms aren't really suited for what I'm trying to do. I feel like for what I'm trying to talk about, I need time. So I figured I'd choose this platform. My healing journey started probably, honestly, the first time I even started thinking about health was sixth grade. I remember feeling fat. To many people, I wasn't. I was like thick in all the right places, but I did not feel comfortable in this body. And that was for several reasons. One of them being because even though I looked like, I had a desirable body, internally I was sick. And then I think another large part was how identified with my body I was. I still say my, like it's me, but that's where I am. But it's like this body is not me, and I know that now. But at the time, I truly thought this was me. I thought this was it, just this body. And I remember not liking photos and just like in general didn't like the way I felt in clothes. I just didn't feel comfortable. But fast forward, that was middle school to high school. Again, I had what was considered a desirable body. So it's not like I was bullied or anything or called fat, but I still just didn't feel comfortable. I thought it was the clothes. So I was like, maybe I need to change it up. I had started to see examples of people dressed in more masculine clothes. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm a masculine gal. And so it wasn't until I went to college where I started to dabble in it. I didn't feel comfortable in high school. My family was very critical of appearance. So I didn't want any judgment of what I was trying out because I didn't even know what I wanted, and then to be judged on it, I just felt like that made it more difficult. So I waited till college and then I bought, a few pieces and still didn't feel comfortable up there. I went to college in Waterville, Maine. So it was a bubble up there. There was a box and people tended to stay in it. And so I still didn't feel so comfortable coming so much out of that box because I was already out of it, just, coming from Maryland. That's primarily where I grew up, the DMV area. And so the style and, vernacular was different. And I was already different enough, so I was like, I'm not going to go too far. And I started to feel more comfortable in those clothes, but I was still pretending. I was still putting on what I thought would be acceptable and what people wouldn't judge me in. even though people will find a reason to judge me in whatever I am in, because we're all judging ourselves. So, I mean, it's only natural. But again, I didn't come into that knowledge until later. So, then I graduated college and I started to explore more. But it wasn't until I got into my current relationship where my partner just really encouraged me to try whatever I wanted, to just experiment. There was no judgment, and I was just free to be. And that's when I was like, okay, I really got into the masculine code. It was fun, but it wasn't me. So I also felt like, again, we have all these boxes in our society. So I would dress masculine, and I think people expected me to have like the same behavior or mannerisms of, I'll say, what the box came with. But again, I was not in there. I was just exploring, taking pieces out of different boxes and trying on what I felt like was comfortable for me and enjoyable to wear for me. Then I finally locked in on a style. I was just somewhere lying in the middle, It could go either way, masculine, feminine. Some days might lean more than the others, but I finally clicked into what I consider my style, which I just consider athleisure, honestly. As you see, I just have like a 3/4 button up and a beanie on, so it's not anything crazy. And this is probably how I look most of the time. But I figured out my style, and then I still didn't feel comfortable. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, okay, I guess it's my size. I had gotten bigger because I still hadn't figured out a lot of the secrets of health that I now know today. So I was probably 50 pounds bigger. And I did notice that I didn't like my body now even more, although I felt comfortable in the clothes that I put on it. So, I was working out, trying to figure things out. I was calorie counting. I was trying all these different fads, vinegar in the water, eggs, vegetarian, pescatarian, vegan. I was just trying everything. Nothing was really working. I felt like nothing was sustainable, so I kept reverting back to what I had grown up with, so. But then it got to a point where I had really bad symptoms that were classified as ADHD in the healthcare system. And so I thought, okay, well, now I know I have this, let me figure out what I can do, because these symptoms are not acceptable. I felt like I was not functioning at the level that I was accustomed to functioning at. And, I feel like a lot of people will be like, I always felt something was wrong, or I don't know, maybe they just accept what is, but that wasn't me. I hadn't felt those things before, those symptoms. So I wasn't convinced that I was born with it and that it was just being found now. I felt like the symptoms started coming on like crazy strong, probably towards the end of high school, but they worsened as I got in college, and then became, I would say, debilitating for me. And shortly after college, a couple years, I was like, I'm not sure if I'll be able to keep a job, because it was getting so hard to keep up. So after my diagnosis, I was like, well, let me figure out how to heal this. And I feel like that's where I like nosedived into my health journey. I had already tried the diets back in like high school and college, and none of them were working out. So then I was like, maybe I came across like if you juggle, or if you juggle on one foot, or a doctor I was seeing was like, listen to these brain waves, they'll help. So I had like speakers on the side of my head, like I was using like a scarf or something like this, but it had no top, and I had speakers on each side of my head, and I would just play that for hours. And I was like, yeah, none of this shit is working. And so then I was like looking into books, and I had found the China study, and that looked like of interest to me. So I was like, I might get this book. It had been some time, and then our family dog, Dallas, had passed on Christmas Eve, and I was heartbroken. But that's because I didn't know the information that I do know now. I thought he was gone, like forever. I still didn't believe in anything spiritually. And so, yeah, I was heartbroken. But in order to distract myself, I thought, I'd go to the library with my partner. I think she wanted to look for some books, and, I was like, what, I wanted to find some books on health. I'm going to dive into health so I don't get too depressed and stuff. And I went to the health section, found the China study, and I saw the book, and it was like this thick, man. And those words were tiny. It was like a Bible, I felt like. And I was like, I don't know. Like, reading was like a struggle for me. Writing was struggling. Like it was a real struggle. Reading, writing, concentration, awareness, all that stuff was a struggle. And I hadn't yet started meditating. I had no meditation practice or like no energy work practices or anything like that. So everything was just a struggle. So I was like, I don't know about this, but I picked it up because I was kind of at a crossroad where I was like, I don't know what else to do. So I guess I'll struggle through this book. But I saw another book on the shelf, and I pulled it out. It said medical medium. I just like turned it around. I think, and I saw that it said ADHD on there, and I was like, oh, well, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So let me just crack open the book, and I looked at I think it's the index, and I searched ADHD. I found the page, and I went directly to it, and that's the only part that I read. And there was an explanation to ADHD, something I hadn't been able to get from the doctors or anywhere else on YouTube or just anywhere else that I had looked. And I was like, oh, okay, like there's an answer out here. I don't know why they're acting like there's no answer to it. I hadn't started from the beginning of the book. I didn't even look at it. So I thought it was probably written by a doctor, much like the other books that I was kind of looking for. And I grabbed the book off the shelf, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to read this when I get home. And the reason for their explanation for ADHD was heavy metals. And I was like, oh, okay. And in it said that, you can remove the heavy metals, and therefore the symptoms will go away. And that's all I was looking for. So that's what started me on my journey. Had I opened the medical medium books or book from the first page, honestly, I was not open whatsoever. I think I would have put it right back on the shelf. So I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I just opened it to that page and brought it home, like checked it out, brought it home. And then I was like, whoa. I started it from the beginning, and then I was like, what the fuck is this? But I was so desperate. I was open enough. I was so desperate that I was open. And I remember looking at the protocols and everything, and I was like, okay, it's like fruits and vegetables and some weird things that I never heard of. I'll give it a try. It doesn't look like I'll die or anything from, I was already trying some other things that I felt like didn't make me feel good. So I was like, at least these are fruits and vegetables. I was over here drinking apple cider vinegar, and doing God knows what else. So I was like, I can have some spinach, I can have some cilantro and bananas and whatnot. So I brought the book home, started kicking some stuff into gear: celery juice, heavy metal detox smoothie, liver rescue smoothie, and I started to see progress and changes immediately. I wasn't completely sold because I was so skeptical because of my upbringing with Christianity. I just didn't want to believe it 100% because I didn't want to be duped like I was before with Christianity and how it's taught or indoctrinated today. I do believe the Bible at some point was a spiritual guide for us, but with all the edits and versions out there, I personally feel that the original meanings of like the different the books within the Bible have been lost or misconstrued and taught inappropriately. So nothing against the Christian faith, but I don't identify with it. Anywho, it's November, it's 2024, and I've come so far. I've healed so much. And one thing I wish there would have been was more videos of people talking about their experiences, so that I kind of had something to look to as a guide. I was kind of just testing this all out on myself, which I feel like is still a great method. Like, I feel like you should definitely try everything for yourself, experiment. And so for yourself. That's the best way, because somebody telling you, you don't know if that shit is true or not. Who knows where they even heard it from? So I feel like the way I went about it was best for me, but I still feel like having some videos to turn to or somebody else's experiences to listen to would have been nice for the moments that I was unsure or scared or fearful, or even just like, how can I do this more efficiently? So that's what I want to start posting to this channel. So I just want to share things like that on this journey: juicing, juicers, stretching, mobility, meditation practices, qigong. And on this healing journey, I came across breatharian, and that's a path that I'm on as well. So sharing information about my experience with this path. And I also found my way back to God after closing myself off to God because of the Christianity faith that I was surrounded with growing up, and how like uninclusive it was, how a lot of it I felt was based in judgment and hate, and that's just not what God is about. So yeah, I'm excited. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna post, but I figured I'd start with just posting. So hopefully sharing my experience will help others. That's another thing. I really want to help others. And I felt like the way I was helped by a lot of people was them sharing their knowledge and experience through various forms of media, social media. So I'm going to try to help in that way, because that's one way I know how to help, and share my love in that way for other people. Because I would love for people to be able to do the type of healing that I've been able to do in these last 3 years. Because I was really at a point of giving up, which would also be a story to tell. I was about to give the fuck up, but my grandmother came to me in a meditation, and I'm so glad she did. Just another piece of the puzzle to how I got here. I think I want to have a saying for closing out these videos, though. I don't know what it is yet. Maybe I just like saying much love. Much love and happy healing. That's gonna be my, like, creator closeout tag. Much love and happy healing.